Hey mini chums, and welcome back to the Kenwood Kids Club. This week I'm going to be showing you how to make a dessert that looks and tastes so amazing, but is so simple that honestly you're going to want to make it all of the time. And adults who are watching as well, seriously, give it a go. It tastes that good that people won't believe how easy it was to make. It also doesn't need a lot of ingredients, but make sure you head down to the link in the video description where you will find the full recipe and ingredient list so that you can make a no-bake chocolate orange tart of your very own. Yes, that's right, it's no bakes. You don't even need to turn your oven on for today's recipe. All you need is either a pan over a hob or even a microwave. Now this recipe is basically split into two halves. First of all, we're going to make the tart case, and then once that has had a chance to chill, we'll make our ganache filling, pour it in, and then it's just a case of waiting for the tart to chill down, nice and cold, ready to serve. So I guess we should probably get started. To make my tart base, I'm going to be using my food processor, but if you don't have one of these, you can just pop all of the ingredients into a plastic bag and whack them with your rolling pin. The first thing you're going to need are some chocolate biscuits, and I'm using chocolate hobnobs because they're my absolute favourite. Chocolate digestives will work just as well, but I honestly think these are tastier. I'm going to pop my chocolate hobnobs into the food processor, and in with them I'm just going to pop in a little bit of orange-flavoured chocolate as well. Most of the orange flavour in our tart is going to come from the ganache filling, but I figured it's probably a good idea just to add a little hint of that orange flavour into our base as well, because why not? Pop the lid on, and you just want to pulse this until it's broken everything down into small breadcrumby sized pieces. Once you've done that, all you're going to need is a little bit of butter, and I'm using unsalted butter today, and I'm just going to pop this in the microwave to melt it. If you don't have a microwave at home, what you can do is just pop that butter in a pan on the hob and just heat it over a very low heat until the butter has melted completely. We're not trying to cook that butter or burn it at all, we're literally just melting it down into a liquid, so it shouldn't take more than about 30 seconds in the microwave. Okay, maybe it will take a little bit longer than 30 seconds. I'm just going to pop it back in for a few more. And there we go. So in the end that was about 40 seconds in my microwave, and that was just on full power. And there we go, beautifully melted butter. Now this is going to get poured over our breadcrumbs, and that's just going to do the job of helping everything bind together when we put it into our tart case. If you've ever made a cheesecake before with a biscuit base, this is very similar. So pop the lid back on and mix it one more time just to mix that butter all the way through. Once you've done that, you should find that everything starts clumping together slightly. And when it does that, it's time to transfer it into your tart case. Now, it will be a little bit wetter than a normal cheesecake base because we're using chocolate biscuits, not normal, just plain biscuits. So don't worry about that, it's supposed to be like that. Once this has cooled down again, that chocolate will set and help give us a really nice, sturdy, crunchy base. Now you'll notice I haven't lined my tin at all because actually all the butter and chocolate in this mixture is going to stop this from sticking. So you don't need to worry about that. But all we're going to do now is use the back of a spoon to just push everything flat and make sure everything is covered. Again, it will be wetter than a normal cheesecake base, so if it's a bit sticky, don't worry about that. Once you've kind of got everything covered, we're then going to work that mixture up the sides of our tin as well. So I'm just kind of pushing it slightly to the side just to make sure that I've got enough to do the side as well. Once you've started to work it over to the sides, I then like to switch from my spoon to my fingers, although do make sure you have washed your hands. And then it's just a case of making sure that the entire base is covered. We've got no gaps or holes there, because otherwise our filling will leak through those and then it will stick in the tin. And then I'm pushing into those edges. And if you notice, I'm using my thumb to stop it sticking up over the edge of the tin, so it gives me a smarter finish. I want it to almost look like a pastry case, except it's going to be made of yummy chocolate biscuits. So just working my way around the edge. Anywhere I've got too much, I'm just pushing it back into the middle, and you'll find that there might be one or two places where you need that extra bit there, so you can then pull those over to help you get a nice kind of even thickness all the way around. See here, you can see I've got slightly less, so I can then just work some of that other mixture over to this area just to make sure I have enough. And there you go. Once you've got all around the sides covered and nice and neat, again, just check the base, check you've got no holes, like I've got a little gap over here. So I'm just going to work some of the mixture over just to fill that in, and then just push everything down nice and flat and even. Now sometimes when we're doing this with a cheesecake base, you see people recommend using something like the end of a rolling pin or a measuring cup to push down. But because of that chocolate, this is quite sticky. So I do find it's a lot easier to do it with your fingers than to use something else, just because it tends to get stuck. But essentially, once you have done that, you should end up with a beautiful biscuit tart case that looks like this. What I'm going to do now is pop this in the fridge to chill for a little while, and while it's doing that, we can make our filling. If you want to speed things up, you can actually pop this in the freezer for about 15 to 20 minutes, otherwise leave it in the fridge for a little bit longer. You should find when you're ready to use it, it should be nice and firm. So I'm going to do that, and then let's make our filling. While your tart case is in the fridge or the freezer, we can make our filling. And our filling is a really simple chocolate orange ganache. Now that sounds really impressive, doesn't it? But essentially all you need is equal amounts of orange-flavoured chocolate and double cream. Now I'm using dark chocolate because I find dark chocolate tastes much more delicious in desserts. Milk chocolate can be a little bit sickly if you eat too much of it. You might not agree with me though. However, if you do find that dark chocolate is a little bit much or maybe a little bit too bitter for you, what you can do is do half dark chocolate and half milk chocolate, or even entirely milk chocolate, but just bear in mind it will be a lot sweeter. As I say, I'm using orange-flavoured chocolate, but if you can't get hold of that, you can just add a couple of drops of orange oil or orange extract into your normal plain dark chocolate, and it will give you exactly the same effect. Pop a bit in, taste it, see what you think, and if you need to, add a little bit more. Just remember to go slowly, because you can always add more, but you can't take it out once it's in there. But anyway, once you've decided what you're going to be doing, you just need to either chop up your chocolate into nice small pieces if you're using chocolate bars like I am, or you can always make another shortcut and just use chocolate chips or chocolate pellets. Once you've got it into nice small pieces, I want you to pop it in a heat-proof bowl and then pour your cream into a microwave-safe jug. This is also going in the microwave. Told you it was easy. And we're just going to heat the cream for exactly 2 minutes on full power. Again, if you don't have a microwave, you can do this in a pan on the hob, but you're only heating the cream up, you don't need to bring it to the boil. I'm just going to wait for my 2 minutes and then we'll carry on. And when your chocolate has finished heating for 2 minutes on full power, if you take it out, or ask an adult to take it out for you, you should find that it is nice and hot. Hopefully not so hot that you can't touch it, but hot enough that you wouldn't want to touch it for long. I'm then just going to pour this over my chocolate, like that, and then I'm going to leave it to stand for around about 2 to 3 minutes. Now that basically means I'm not going to touch it, because what's now happening in that bowl is the chocolate is melting in the heat from the cream. Now what we're making here is something called ganache, and it's something we've made here in the Kids Club before in a couple of our other recipes, but it's absolutely delicious and you can use it for everything from pouring over desserts. You can turn ganache into little chocolate truffles. I quite often use chocolate ganache on some of my cakes. The ganache we're making today though is one using equal parts chocolate and cream, so it's going to be slightly looser than the ganache we use to make little chocolate truffles, and that's just going to make it nice and smooth when we eat it in our tart. If you wanted to make ganache to make truffles or to cover a cake or anything like that, you want to use twice as much chocolate as you do cream. So here I've got 300 grams of chocolate and 300 grams of cream. If I was using it to cover a cake, I would use 600 grams of chocolate and 300 millilitres of cream, or 300 grams of cream. Once that 2 to 3 minutes is up, you just need to grab your spatula, or you can use a spoon or even a whisk, and just start to stir this mixture together. And as I say, you should find that most of that chocolate has melted down in the heat of the cream. Now it might look a bit scary at first because it's quite tricky to mix chocolate and cream together, but don't panic. The more you mix, the more it will come together. And what we're looking for is a lovely, glossy and smooth chocolate ganache mixture that is going to be absolutely delicious in our tart. So persevere with it, keep stirring, and eventually it will come together. I like to use a spatula because it means that I can go around the edge of the bowl and make sure that I'm getting all of that cream mixture to mix with my chocolate. But if you find it easier to do it with a whisk, that's absolutely fine as well. Hopefully yours is going to start looking something very much like this. And doesn't it look beautiful and shiny? If you find that you've still got some lumps of chocolate that are really being stubborn and refusing to melt down, what you can do is put this bowl back in your microwave for around about 20 to 30 seconds, and that will just heat the mixture back up again and get that chocolate melting. But there we go, doesn't that look absolutely lovely? You're going to need to resist the temptation to just eat it like this though, because of course we need to put this into our tart cases. So I'm going to go and get mine back out of the fridge and we'll add our ganache. So my tart case has been chilling in the fridge now for about 30 minutes and it's feeling nice and firm. And so all I need to do now is grab this lovely, smooth and shiny dark chocolate ganache, and I'm just going to pour it into that tart case. Now make sure you get all of it because we don't want to waste any. And then once you've done that, if you just lift it up and tilt it round slowly, you should end up with a nice, even, flat layer of chocolate ganache. You can also give it a little tap on the worktop if you want to make sure there's no bubbles caught underneath. But once you get to this stage, essentially your chocolate orange tart is done. All you need to do now is pop it back in the fridge for around about 2 hours, although I usually recommend leaving it overnight if you can, and then it will be ready to serve. Now you may have noticed in the thumbnail image here on YouTube, I decorated it using loads and loads of gold glitter and sprinkles and things like that. And that's one way you can dress yours up, or you can keep things a lot simpler with a dusting of cocoa powder, a dusting of icing sugar, or even some of your favourite chocolate orange sweets. I'm going to leave mine in the fridge to chill for a little bit, and then I'm just going to pop some of the little segments of a chocolate orange on the top just to finish this one off. So let's get this one in the fridge and then we can do that and perhaps give this one a try. So my tart has now been chilling for about 2 hours, which, as I said earlier on, is the minimum that I would normally chill this for. Ideally you want to do it overnight, but for the purposes of this video we are going to kind of finish everything off so that you can see what it looks like when it's done and we can give this a taste. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove it from the tin, and I've got a loose bottomed tart tin, which makes life a lot easier. If you don't have a loose bottom tin, by all means you can serve it in the tin, don't panic. But if you have a loose bottom like me, what I like to do is just very gently give it a bit of a move so I can see it's coming out. And then I grab just a normal tin and I place my tin on top, a tin on a tin, a normal tin of food, and then I place my tart tin on top, and then I can just gently release the tart like that. Now you've got two options. You can either just put the whole base onto your serving dish, or you can remove it from the base as well, which I like to do because I don't want to scratch my tart tin when I'm slicing my chocolate tart. Now to do that, I'm going to use a palette knife. A cake lifter is great for this as well if you have one, or even something like a fish slice, something like that. Try and do this delicately. Also, you can take it off the tin now. Let's try that again. Yeah, you just want to check that your tart isn't stuck to the base, and then it should just be a case of lifting onto your serving dish, which I had just out of shot over there. But there you go, there is my chocolate orange tart on its serving dish. You might want to get an adult to help you. It can be quite delicate, but if you've left it to chill for longer than 2 hours, you should be absolutely fine. To finish this one off, I'm going to keep things super simple, and I'm just going to grab some chocolate orange segments from that very well-known popular sweet, and I'm just going to place these onto the top of my tart, towards the edges, just to add a bit of interesting detail. Now you can top these with anything you want. There are, there's no rules. Anything that you think would taste nice and look cool, throw them on the top. As you saw in the YouTube thumbnail, I used edible glitter, I used some sprinkles, I used some of these, but I coloured them with some gold dust. Whatever you fancy doing, it's absolutely fine. Now I'm trying to do these so that it looks like they're all facing the same direction, but I'm also rushing, so you can take your time a little bit more. There we go, there are my chocolate orange segments. Now the last thing I wanted to show you in this video is how I would cut a tart like this, because that chocolate ganache is really thick and really kind of sticky. And so to get a nice clean cut, what I recommend is get your adult to fill up a jug with some hot water from the kettle, and then you can pop your knife in there and that will just warm the blade up slightly. And you can dry it off with a tea towel, and again I would get your adult to do this just to make sure you're being nice and safe, and then you should find that that hot blade will slide straight through that chocolate and give you a nice neat cut. You can then pop it back in the water and then do it exactly the same thing again, and I'm going to cut a huge slice because I want a piece of that chocolate orange segment on my slice. And then you can just use your knife to lift it up, and doesn't that look absolutely beautiful? Hopefully you can see it on one of the cameras. There we go, I've checked and I know that you can definitely see both the whole tart and that slice on that camera now. So hopefully you can see how beautiful that chocolate ganache looks. And then of course the most important part of every video, I say it every time, is tasting this. So I'm going to take a little bit off the end there. You can see we've got that lovely biscuity base with that beautifully smooth ganache on top. Mmm. It's like a giant chocolate orange hobnob biscuit, but it looks beautiful as well as tasting beautiful. And I think you would find that anybody would be really impressed if you served them this up for their pudding. One of my favourite ways to serve this up is with a blob of really thick whipped cream or even clotted cream. It makes it even more decadent. But there you go, that is how to make my no-bake chocolate orange tart. I do hope you're going to have a go at this one, because as you saw, it is so easy. You don't have to do any proper cooking or baking. You can do all of it in the microwave, and it literally is a case of just popping it into a tin, leaving it in the fridge, and you end up with this absolutely stunning dessert only a couple of hours later. It's the sort of thing you can just whip up the day before you've got people coming around to visit, and then it's there in the fridge ready to go. Simply take it out half an hour or so before you're planning on eating, and it will be absolutely perfect. If you do fancy having a go at my no-bake chocolate orange tart, then make sure you head down to the video description, and there you'll find a link to the Kenwood Kids Club website, where you will find the full recipe and ingredients list and everything you need to know to be able to make one of these at home. While you're there, if you're not already signed up, do that too, because then you'll get your very own Kenwood Kids Club membership card, which is a magnet, so you can pop it on your fridge. And you'll find all the details that you need to enter your version of my tart, or in fact any of the bakes here on the Kenwood Kids Club, into our Star Baker of the Month competition. This is February's final episode, so we'll be choosing the winner of February's Star Baker of the Month any day now. And if you would like that to be you, scooping your very own Kenwood Kids Club goodie bag and a Kenwood hand mixer of your very own too, then all you need to do is just have a go at this, or as I say, any of the recipes on our website, and then upload a photo of your bake, and who knows, it could be your name that I'm announcing in the next video to say that you are our Star Baker of the Month. If it's your first time watching one of our videos here on our YouTube channel, don't forget you can also hit the big red subscribe button right here. And don't forget, I'll be back at the same time next week on World Book Day with a very special literarily book-themed recipe that we can all enjoy to help us celebrate World Book Day together. And until I see you again next week, take care and happy baking. Bye everyone.